Right, let's look at a little chap now that's often overlooked until we make a mistake. And that of course is the humble eraser. And you might think, well, one eraser is as good as the next, but that's not the case. We're probably most of us familiar with the school pencil eraser that you get on the end of pencils. It's usually red and it's quite gritty and it does a job up to a point, but there's better options than that, as we'll see in a second. One of them is a gum based eraser, which is much more flexible and softer and is much kinder to the paper surface, and that's most important. The best choice of all, which I think, is the putty eraser, because this is very flexible, as you can see, and best of all, you can mould it and knead it into a fine chisel edge if you want, like that, or even a very fine point. In fact, with the putty eraser, what I tend to do is break a piece off, and then I can use it not just as an eraser but actually as a little drawing tool. Okay, now here you can see I've scribbled onto the paper with nothing heavier than an HB pencil, and we'll have a look at and see what the school eraser, pencil eraser, makes of it. Now right away we start trying to rub out like that, and okay, it looks like we're taking the surface off, but can you see what happens? First of all, it doesn't make a very good job of getting rid of the mark. One of the reasons is because of its relative coarseness. It's pushed the graphite into the fibres of the paper. Worse than that, it's actually damaged the paper surface. If you try and go over it, what you end up is with a fairly muddy, smudgy effect. Now let's have a look at the art gum eraser. Here, because it's much gentler, it brings the image off much easier. You can see it's taking it and spreading it, so you have got to be careful, because you can see the graphite there that's come off on the rubber, so you've got to keep removing that, but at least with a little care, and if you're quite gentle, even the smudges you create by rubbing the graphite are soon removed. Best of all is, as I said, the putty eraser. In fact, what I do is I tend to pull a piece of this putty eraser off and use this as a little drawing instrument. But if we mould this to, say, a chisel edge, then what we do is, you can see right away, it lifts off. We don't rub so much. You can rub, but you don't rub as much. What you do is dab off the graphite, and then when the surface gets a bit dirty, all that you need to do is to fold it inside and expose a clean piece of the eraser, and that is the putty eraser. Well, let's combine that with the putty eraser and see if we can produce a couple of little mini sketches just to demonstrate their use in practical terms. What I'm going to do to start with is draw the business end of a paintbrush, and I'm going to make it a flat brush, I think. Like that. But you can see how I'm using the sharp chiseled edge of the pencil. What I'm actually trying to create now is the shiny silver effect of the metal ferro. And we'll have the light coming from this side, I think, so we'll have the bristles slightly darker on that side. And a little bit of shading as well on the, I'm only going to do just the top of the brush handle, I'm not going to do the whole brush. And that, now, by just turning the pencil over and using the flat edge, what I'm able to do is to find a very wide surface on the graphite to very lightly shade around the perimeter of the brush, particularly that light part near the tip. Now, of course, we can use my putty eraser to create a little chisel effect. I think I'll take a little bit of that line out to give a more raggedy effect with the brush, with the bristles. Okay, we'll leave that for now. Now the other little sketch, which perhaps gives a greater emphasis on the putty eraser, is let's draw ourselves an eye. Drawing the pupil of the eye and seeing what we can achieve from that. Okay. Use the chiseled edge for that, for the centre of the eye, and then the flat edge for the outer part of the eye. Now what I'm actually going to do as well is I'm going to do the same, not quite as dark, but I'm going to fill in the white of the eye. Because what I can do now is to form a point on the putty eraser and very subtly take out a little of the white of the eye without leaving it dead white. Then what I can do is to dab out just a hint of the iris. You notice I'm just dabbing, I'm not scrubbing, I'm not picking at it, I'm not working hard, just gently dabbing. Gives a very, very subtle effect. And then finally, let's see if we can make this work. We just need to fill in perhaps a little bit of darkness in the corner of the eye, like that. And also a little bit of the shadow that you get on top of the eyelid, like that. Okay, and then let's finally see if we can take out a little highlight. You can see I've just very easily manipulated this to a point. I'm lifting out a nice highlight in the eye. Okay, I'll just go back in with the pencil just to sharpen the edge of that so it's emphasized a bit more. And there we go, you've got a reasonably realistic eyeball, Mark 1 human eyeball, with a pencil and our little friend that never lets us down, the putty eraser.